Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
Are you ready to change your life but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey you, podcast listener, this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Pierce Redmond from Porkins Policy Review and also Tom Secker from SpyCulture.com. And also our little collaborative work there, CIA and Hollywood. So, Pierce, what do you guys have coming up on CIA and Hollywood?
Well, we got a real. I think the episode that me and Tom were excited about recording when we first started figuring out what we were going to do for the second season, and that is dealing with the another George Clooney film. This would be his directorial debut, and that's Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which deals with Chuck Barris, and as a little tie-in. Gary DeVore's big break came when he became a writer for Chuck Barris on The Gong Show. So interesting little connection there. And, of course, Chuck Barris, for anyone that doesn't know, is The Gong Show, The Dating Game, very influential in terms of turning TV into, like you wouldn't have American Idol or X Factor or anything like that without Chuck Barris. And he also claimed to have been a CIA assassin. And that he killed 33 people. And and Tom and I and our friend Aaron Franz from the ageoftransitions.com, we get into all of that, and we talk about was Barris an agent, or what did he mean by saying that he worked for the CIA, and there's there's actually a lot of crossover between that episode and the episode we did with you, Ed, where we were talking about Edward R. Murrow and all of that. Not only does Good Night and Good Luck star George Clooney as well, but there's also a lot of CBS connections, and there are some very deep CBS connections with Chuck Barris, including being married to one of the founders of CBS. He was married to the daughter of one of the founders of CBS. So that's going to be a really exciting episode. That was one that, and that's like I think a really like classic episode that for me and Tom. Our friend Aaron is great. That was probably one of our favorite episodes from the first season, was the one we did with him on The Recruit. And so this episode coming up is going to be a real barn burner.
What do you make of that Chuck Barris story? I tried to get a hold of him, by the way, and I don't think that's his real name. I don't think that's his real.
You don't already know him. You do not know him from way back when.
No, I don't. Not that I recall. It was the 80s, back around then. There a lot went on in those days. But I tried to get a hold of him. I don't think that Chuck Barris is his real name. Well,
really? I wouldn't surprise me. He's reinvented himself constantly. That's his whole thing.
And ever since he did that book about being in the CIA, or that movie came out, he's gone. No one's talked to him.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. Personal opinion, complete scumbag. I don't think he was an assassin for the CIA, but it's entirely conceivable that he worked on some level for them. If maybe for nothing, I think Ed, you've had Tom on talking about a lot of these Pentagon documents. And what is the Pentagon obsessed with? Reality TV shows, Cupcake Wars,
right,
crap like that. You see on like History Channel and other things. Well, Chuck Barris is the precursor to all of that. He invented. There would be no reality TV shows without the stuff that Chuck Barris was doing. We talk in the episode if that's a possibility. His whole deal was to kind of dumb down the population, but I think the real important thing that people will get out of the movie is that less so about, it's almost irrelevant what Chuck Barris is, but what Clooney was doing with that film, that's what's important. And it's very much Clooney kind of, presenting himself to the CIA. And he, picking up on a lot of themes in that movie, a lot of conspiracy culture stuff in that film. Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby are in the movie. So it's interesting to see what Clooney was doing in terms, like why he made that his first movie, his directorial debut. I think that's really the important question.
So you believe that Clooney was sending a signal to the CIA saying, "Hey, I'm up for grabs. Come get me."
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Especially his trajectory of movies.
What about? Yeah, the timeline that we kind of outlined in this episode, that we started with the episode with you, sort of exploring the notion of good night and good luck as part of this process, whereby Clooney and Heslov as well were sending up a little flag and saying, here we are, come get us. Is that, in 2002, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind comes out, where Clooney directs the film, produces the film, it's his creative baby. And he plays in the film the handler of Chuck Barris, the handler of a CIA guy in the entertainment industry. He then goes on to make Good Night and Good Luck, where he is retelling the history of an organization, one of its proudest moments, you might argue, CBS, but completely overlooks the fact that CBS is riddled with CIA and OSS people and very deeply connected with the CIA at that time. He makes Syriana, where he plays a CIA agent. He makes Men Who Stare at Goats, where he plays a psychic spy, which is the legacy of CIA MKUltra experiments, which I very much glossed over in the movie, and the whole thing is painted as kind of like a Pentagon experiment. And then he goes on to produce Argo, the big celebration of the CIA in Hollywood. And that film is the one where we're absolutely certain that the CIA were involved. It filmed at Langley. They had CIA technical consultants, all of that business. So you have to look at Argo as maybe the end of a decade-long project whereby Clooney was trying to inveigle his way into that world. And in the middle of this, of course, he joins the Council on Foreign Relations as well. So, yeah, that's the timeline that we're presenting. And that's like you say, that we think they're saying, here we are, come and work with us.
Yeah, and he marries this woman who's like a Hague attorney.
Amal Clooney, yeah, she's a real character.
Yeah, okay. Hey, what do you guys make on that?
I think it's just a political marriage. I think it's just they're both rich and powerful, and they both want to continue being rich and powerful, and it makes perfect sense for Mr. CFR CIA man in Hollywood to marry a I don't know, international
celebrity lawyer.
Right. Celebrity lawyer. Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. She does nothing. She's just a face. She's just a very pretty face. Not putting her down for that, but she brings nothing to the table. She's not like she's won any case or done it. I mean, you can't even win a case at The Hague. So it's perfect for her because all she has to do is just sort of, look nice on camera and talk about how she, it's like every other day. It's like, she's defending Yazidi sex slaves from Syria. Oh, no, now I'm trying to get Turkey to admit to genocide. Oh, now I'm going to do that. Like, she just jumps around. She's just someone that they put to be the public face of this corrupt organization that, only goes after mostly people of color.
Did you ever see the press conference with Clooney where he's introducing Obama? This is when Obama, I think, was running for Senate.
No.
Yeah,
but no big surprise there.
It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. I think he was like bossing Obama around in that press conference.
He might be.
We have to go back and find that. I know you guys are really good at finding stuff, so you can do me a favor.
Dig that one up.
Yeah, dig that one up. Let me ask you.
Well, look at what he's doing now. He's running, $300,000 a plate fundraisers for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
He's as involved in that as any celebrity is. And the stupid irony of all this, of course, is that if George Clooney ran for president, he'd probably win.
Well, maybe 2020,
Yeah, him versus Kanye West, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That'd be a tough one.
Yeah.
And Clooney also travels in intelligence circles it's not just his he's political and in Hollywood, but his like NGOs that he runs in Africa are filled with deep state agents. John Prendergast is a big one. They run some sort of NGO for I think people in Darfur. And Prendergast is up to his eyeballs in the Rwandan genocide and orchestrating things and helping with, getting white mercenaries into Congo and all sorts of horrible stuff. So Clooney he's surrounded by all of these people. So it makes sense. I think something that Tom and I talk throughout the series, the second season, is that there are people in Hollywood that understand the game.
Right.
We're talking about Gary DeVore, for instance. Obviously, Gary DeVore knew the game. These people existed. There were intelligence operatives all over Hollywood. This goes back as we've chronicled, to the 50s. The first episode of this season that we did was all about The Quiet American and, Edward Lansdale's involvement in that film. So this goes far back. People who are smart enough understand that works, and they understand that you can sell your soul to a lot of people in Hollywood if in exchange for money and fame. And some people sell their soul to the CIA for money and fame. And that's obviously what Ben Affleck has done. That's definitely what George Clooney and Grant Heslov are doing. You could say the same Jennifer Garner. She did unpaid infomercials for the CIA. So obviously, and their careers are all predicated on their participation in CIA-assisted films or TV shows. So yeah, I think there's a group out there that knows what's going on, or knows that that's one way that you can make money other ways in Hollywood or famous, but that's one way, and it can pay off for a lot of people.
It seems like Angelina Jolie was on that track, but something happened.
I think she's still on that track. I think
so?
She's just quieted down a bit, maybe, but
or maybe she's moved on to even, well, I'm hesitating to say even bigger things than the CIA, but other parallel things. I mean, she was involved in a big, British Foreign Office sponsored event that's all about her, we've got to end sexual violence in war zones. Not that we've got to end war zones. Don't dream that high, but, what matters is sexual violence in the war zones, because obviously the war zones are just going to continue. It seems it's the message there. But yeah, and she was recently awarded a position. She's like a visiting professor at the London School of Economics, which is riddled with MI6, and everyone has been for a long time. And again, member of the CFR, again has appeared in multiple CIA assisted productions. Isn't her father John Voight?
Yeah,
thinking about it. And he's been in a bunch of CIA and DoD films as well. And I think, in fact, Angelina Jolie and John Voight have been given like honors in the, the honors list that we have over here, this absurd thing where we give people OBEs and MBEs and all knighthoods, all this nonsense. They've both been awarded things as part of that. And who are they? They're Hollywood celebrities. They've got nothing to do with this country, really. I'm not kind of being all nationalistic or anything. I'm just kind of baffled as to, of all the people to pick, why have they picked them? And you've got to think, is it because they've pursued careers in Hollywood where they're getting involved with the government? Because they certainly do seem to have done that. And so, yeah, they would be two others. And in fact, I mean, John Voight, just to circle back to Gary DeVore for a moment, John Voight is the big guy in Enemy of the State. He's the guy who plays this horrible NSA chief who's running these black op teams and this mass surveillance and everything. And what happens at the start of Enemy of the State? A guy is murdered and dumped in his car, and his car is dumped in the water. And you got to wonder, is that just a horrible, spooky coincidence? That film was being made while this whole Gary DeVore thing was going on. So did they know something? Did they hear that story and then write it into the script as some sort of macabre homage to the Gary DeVore situation?
Wendy DeVore even points out that film. There's this part in the book where she mentions that to Matt, that I think she watched it on the plane going from somewhere, and it made her very uncomfortable. And it was her first sort of idea that there could be conspiracies out there. So Enemy of the State is like we keep finding more and more. Well, I've told you, Ed, that's got Anthony Pellicano was an advisor on that.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, that movie keeps on giving in terms of
same names keep coming up. Well, every day this week the same names keep coming up. But this is the third show I've done this week, man, where Pellicano comes up. I better move. Let me, I tell you something else though, too. I know for a fact that it wouldn't be a big trick to plant a movie on a plane. If you know someone's flying on that plane, you want to send them a message and plant the movie on that plane. That wouldn't be a big deal at all. Because the flight attendants have a big role in which movie they pick. And, to insert a movie to know someone's flying, that's not a big deal at all. Oh, God. And it's interesting, too. What do you make of this whole thing with Angelina Jolie? First of all, her relationship with her dad, they don't talk to each other and haven't in years. There's some kind of estrangement there. And then the whole thing with her with the blood and with the, and her kissing her brother. And then removing her breasts, really for no reason.
I have no idea. Yeah, I know. That's a weird one, too. And then encouraging other women to do that. Who don't have nearly the resources that she does to do it. I don't know if I was maybe some sort of early transhumanist push or something like that. I don't know with her.
That is what it smacked of to me, was some element of a transhumanist cult or something. And I mean, might as well throw this one in there. The last movie that we're looking at in this season of the CIA in Hollywood is Salt, which stars Angelina Jolie and which was made with the assistance of the CIA. And of course, in that film, she very convincingly disguises herself as a man. Mm-hmm. For a period of the film, she's wandering around in, full prosthetics as a man. And so you do kind of wonder, is there there's certainly a weird CIA transhumanism crossover going on in Silicon Valley. We can be certain of that, the sorts of technologies that they're helping to develop there. And you could argue the same with the Institute for Creative Technologies, which is this very experimental laboratory that's funded by the US Army, which develops technologies for training purposes, but also for Hollywood as well. There's a lot of that kind of thing going on. So maybe Angelina Jolie is just a sort of human example, a human manifestation of that. There certainly are a lot of transhumanists in Hollywood of various stripes. That much is clear. How much of it crosses over with the CIA and the DoD, I'm not too sure, but there is certainly some crossover.
You know, there's a bizarre 6 degrees of separation where George Clooney was on The Facts of Life with that girl, Mindy Cohen, who played the fat girl. And Mindy Cohen today, she's the live-in nanny for Brad and Angelina. And
that's a weird one.
Yeah.
Well, her career really took off, huh?
Well, but you know what? There's this whole thing about this group of friends that Angelina and Brad have, this like 20 friends that live with them and travel with them and that they've known for 20 years and they're nanny for them and drive them around. And it's this bizarre little commune they have going on.
Well, yeah, she's picking up, kids from all over the world.
Yeah, how bizarre is that?
I don't know. Yeah, it's Angelina, just to dump on her some more, she seems pretty devoid of any real emotion when you get down to it. I think she's driven by something other than love and compassion.
Yeah.
Especially recently. Yeah, back in, the 90s, yeah, she was sort of the wild child, and when she was with, what's his name? Billy Bob Thornton and whatnot. But now she's sort of become very, driven for something. I don't know what yet, but it's, you never see her with Brad Pitt anymore. And just, you never see her with her kid. She, collected all of them from, Cambodia and East Africa and whatnot, but she's never around with them anymore. So yeah, I don't know what her deal is exactly.
And her first big film was Gia, about the modeling industry, which the more you look into it is just like a cesspool of, that whole
scum.
Yeah, you might say so. Yeah, that whole thing with Trump Modeling Agency, where he's and all of his businesses. And Trump, by the way, he makes $5 million a year off of Trump Modeling Agency and Trump Talent Management. And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes, the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down, shining a light on the root cause of these crimes and introducing a spiritual solution. Justice will be served. Available at Lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
And Trump, by the way, he makes $5 million a year off a Trump modeling agency and Trump talent management. He met this woman, Malankia, whoever this one is, right? The newest one he got. He met her because she was a model for Trump modeling agency. And then, and this thing with these H-1B visas, all of his businesses, his golf courses, all the construction companies, he's done 1,000 of these H-1B visas to bring people in, import people from other countries to come work for him. Out of that 1,000, 250 were models for Trump modeling agency. Some of them 12 years old.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then you got Jean-Luc Brunel, the buddy of Epstein, who visited that jail condo he was living in there, 13 more times than there were visiting days. I think he visited 53 times. There are only 52 possible visiting days. So one day he visited twice or something. I don't know. And the same thing, the same accusations that Epstein and Brunel had this ability to get these visas for these little girls in Thailand and Eastern Germany, all that kind of stuff. Do you have anything new on that, Pierce? Been working on?
Not anything too new. I got Tom actually sent me. I'll send them to you, Ed. Some documents on muckrock.com. Some probable cause affidavits that I've never seen before. One of them was Sarah Kellen, who's now known as Sarah Kensington, one of the procurers, and another procurer, Haley Robson, who I knew of, but had never seen anything about her. And some other interesting documents that I haven't seen. Nothing too much. I mean, there's some stuff with these books that are coming out about him that I find very suspicious.
So do I.
The Sarnoff book, and then this other book with this John Connolly character, this private eye / Scientology agent, who is also involved in stuff in Hollywood as well. A lot of say he actually was the first person to talk about the Pelicano, Marty Singer wiretapping and stuff. And he's also very involved in. Obviously, he worked for Scientology, so he definitely knows his way around Hollywood. So yeah, I've nothing too much yet. I think though, on the Epstein thing, I think once the RNC and DNC conventions end, there will be another wave of stories or something, because we'll be closer to when these books will be released and whatnot. And I think if there is anything on that, that's when it'll happen.
Tom, you got anything new?
Well, just that me and Pierce have been discussing sort of possibilities as to what this whole Epstein, Trump, Clinton axis, what's the reason for this? What's really going on there? And we did raise the possibility of some kind of October surprise that's going to influence the election. And I mean, right now it's very difficult to see where this election is going and who's going to win. So one way or another, I think it is going to have an impact on that. I think it is going to mean something to this forthcoming election that is one of the worst in living memory, I've got to say. I'm glad to not be an American and not have to try and make any decision vis-a-vis this election, because you're not being offered much. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, do you want to just sort of outline one of those, the theory you mentioned to me a little while ago about where this could be going?
Right. So Epstein in early 2000s funded Radar Online.
Right.
He gave a bunch of money along with, I think, Mort Zuckerman from the Daily News. They gave a substantial amount of money to Meir Roshan, who's the owner of Radar Online. And then subsequently he kind of pulled out or whatever. And Radar Online has covered Epstein quite a bit, but only as it pertains to Bill Clinton. They won't touch anything in terms of Donald Trump. And in general, Radar is friendly to Donald Trump. One of the infamous pictures of Epstein, one of the few ones that are publicly available, where he's in like a black shirt, and he's at a party, is actually a cropped image of him and the owner of Radar Online at a party. And the other person pictured in that picture is the mysterious Tatiana, who appears on the flight manifests multiple times on his airplane, sometimes flying with Bill Clinton, sometimes flying with Alan Dershowitz and others. So that's who Tatiana is. I think there is something larger going on in terms of the way it's being portrayed. It's always about Clinton. And this isn't to excuse, I think Bill Clinton is a nasty SOB, but Trump is as connected to this, if not more so, because he's known Epstein for much longer. All of the focus is on Bill Clinton. Is it conceivable that Epstein, like a lot of smart billionaires, invested in a media outlet? He invested in a gossip one, but a media outlet all the same, with the insurance policy that, listen, if something goes down, you've got to kind of run cover for me. You've got to protect me on some level. So yes, Radar Online will talk about Epstein. They won't get into any of the details. They'll just refer to him as a pedo or a sleazebag. They're not really getting into the nitty gritty as to what he was doing. And they'll only mention Epstein as it connects to Bill Clinton. If you go back to some of the original things that Virginia Roberts stated when she was on the island down in St. Thomas, the one time that she was there and Bill Clinton was there, she actually asked Epstein, and this is in one of the big art. It might have been in the Daily Mail. She was quoted as talking about this instance. She said she never saw Bill Clinton involved in anything illegal, but she asked Epstein, well, why would he come here? And Epstein gives this sort of weird response that, well, he owes me a favor or something to that effect. And that always struck me as bizarre. And it always struck me that Epstein was not friends with Bill Clinton, that they were acquaintances. They certainly hung out together, but the way that Virginia Roberts interpreted it was that Epstein had serious blackmail on Clinton. So he kind of was in control of what Clinton was doing, where he was going and whatnot. So could this all be Epstein helping out his good buddy Trump, his friend of 20 plus years? Yes, Epstein is kind of screwed. Everybody knows that. But he can still kind of help out Trump by deflecting any connection between the two of them and having one of his media outlets cover only Bill Clinton. So that was my sort of idea. I don't know, exactly, but it seems odd too that all of, Epstein, this just came out the other day. Steve Hoffenberg, who is Epstein's, was his business partner. Hoffenberg is was the Bernie Madoff before Bernie Madoff. He's built people out of $750 million, or $750 million in a Ponzi scheme. He was connected with Epstein. Well, he's come out recently saying, "Oh, Epstein is so horrible, blah blah blah." Even though he's this guy's a crook himself. Well, who did he just? His super PAC just put $50 million up for a media campaign. Donald Trump. So
Hoffenberg is supporting Trump.
Curious Hoffenberg, yeah, he's funding a $50 million ad campaign for Donald Trump.
Isn't Hoffenberg still in prison? What happened? He got out?
Really? I believe he's out now, as far as I know. He runs a website, towerinvestors.com, which is the website where he posts stuff about Epstein and the money, and he's claiming, oh, it's Epstein's fault. He makes it sound like he wasn't the Ponzi schemer, that it was really Epstein that was behind this.
Well, Hoffenberg was involved in the Misty Crossland case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's a child porn picture of that kid.
Well, that's what I mean. All of these people, associated with Epstein. It's bizarre that so many of them are coming out in favor of or protecting Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You spoke to Conchita Sarnov. I mean, you wouldn't even know that Donald Trump knew Epstein, according to her. And she even misquoted that quote from Epstein.
And went to great lengths to misquote that quote.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That was very big. And, her, I think her former husband, David Sarnov, grandson of Brigadier General Sarnov, who ran Radio Free Europe.
Right.
There is, I don't know if it's the same one. There is because I know Conchita Sarnov lives in L.A. There is a David Sarnov who's a Hollywood producer out in L.A. So I don't know if they're connected.
Well, her publisher is Mossad.
Yeah, that's a very odd one too. And that
Mossad agent who wrote a book about deception, using deception in the Mossad. I'm hoping to have him on as a guest coming forward. Interesting. That's Mika Brzezinski. And one of these days, Morning Joe Scarborough mentioned, he goes, all this stuff with Epstein, is all this going to come out? And Mika got very silent, and she shoots out a lot of clues, man, during that Morning Joe show. And she says, I think all this is going to get very dark and very ugly. And I think she's somebody who would know.
Yeah. Oh, and I love Joe Scarborough running his mouth about this when he's got a dead intern in his office.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if there was any foul play, but it definitely, reeks of the kind of, foul play that goes on with some politicians.
Yeah. And by the way, too, Epstein and Trump, Epstein had the phone numbers of just about every single Trump family member, including the ex-wife, Ivana. He had all their phone numbers, not just Trump. He had the kids, the girls, Tiffany. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something extensive going on there with that family.
Oh yeah, no, I was just on Chuck Ochelli's show the other night talking. I just still can't believe that this isn't even like minor news. It's just no news. There's nothing on this. Or if it is, it's only Bill Clinton's connection.
And you want to know what I just had on Hillary? Who was that woman? The woman got Kathleen Willey, and we started talking about Epstein and Clinton, and even then I felt hesitant about bringing up Trump's name and his connection and all that, because I knew she's sort of supporting Trump. They were one part of that little group, with Roger Stone. And I felt hesitant about bringing it up because I'm getting so much grief these days. I'm banned from the Trump rally now.
You should hear the attacks I got for doing a video talking about Epstein and Trump. I mean, kill yourself.
Yeah.
Pierce is a druggie. He's a Mossad agent. Blah blah blah. I mean, they will only be convinced when they see Donald Trump go up on stage at one of his rallies and rape a little girl. That's the only way they're ever going to be convinced that he's bad. Because it's like no manner of connection or anything, no number of connections this guy can have to a convicted pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do. This is the bizarre thing about Trump. He's become this very, cult of personality political figure whereby it doesn't really matter what he says or does anymore. His supporters at least, will just keep running interference. They'll keep making excuses for him. They'll keep saying anything necessary that justifies them continuing to support him. It's fanatical almost.
It's like it's like most people that are a victim of a con, man. They keep giving them money, or these romance cons, and they keep they want to defend them. They want to believe. You want to believe when you're a sucker, and you've been taken advantage of. Okay, today is 6/16/2016, okay? And there's a lot going on this week down in Orlando. What do you guys make the different theories with this alligator in Disney?
I don't know what. That was a weird one. I love that's what shut down Disneyland. And it was a horrible thing, but not 50 people getting murdered right next door.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Do you think it was the alligator's connection to ISIS, or do you think it was his sexual orientation?
Mexican drug cartels?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, of course, and Disneyland purchased with the help of the CIA.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. All of that land in Florida is they used several former CIA agents and operatives to help them, so that they basically purchased the land for almost nothing. And the like Lake Buena Vista is one of the quote cities that is encompasses Disneyland, and it's like a population of like 20 people. All of them are Disney employees, so they control the city government, they control the mayor's office, they control it. So Disney is like exempt from any sort of laws. It's like a little mini state down in Florida.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing to it. No one ever dies there because they take them to a hospital in the next county, and they do the time of death over there. quick, get him out of here.
Yeah, Mickey throws you in the back of his truck.
But this whole thing down at this Pulse thing, right? You got this guy, right? Who was with Whack and Hunt, and then his dad is you see the work that Hopsicker did on this guy's father?
No, not yet, but I know
yeah.
he's got some shady connections.
Yeah, the father has to be funded by the CIA, and there can't be any way around it that I can see. What do you make about that, Tom?
Well, certainly the Whack and Hunt thing, and Whack and Hunt as a subsidiary of G4S, which has become an astonishingly big and astonishingly widespread security organization. I mean, I live in a small town, rural town in Yorkshire, and yet the banks around here that you see G4S vans picking up there and dropping off the money at the banks. It's like it's that widespread. You can't get away from this organization. And they did all of the stuff at the 2012 Olympics and blah, blah, blah. But you got to wonder, one of the first details that they put out about this story was that, he'd phoned up 911 and said, this is for ISIS, or he's somehow affiliated with ISIS. But he spent the last decade working for an American or even international conglomerate security firm. It's not like this guy, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not like he'd been to Syria or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is his affiliation? What does he even mean by, he's associated with ISIS when you think about what ISIS might be? You kind of wonder, his backstory smacks far more of someone who has either been pushed or provoked or allowed to do this in some way than it smacks of someone who's got involved in radical jihadism and that's his motivation. This is my point. I mean, has anything really come out associating him with, ISIS per se, the actual organization that exists on the ground in Syria? To my knowledge, not really, no. And yet we know that the FBI investigated him on multiple occasions, and despite the FBI's readiness and willingness and ability to set up pretty much anyone they like, nothing happened with him. Mm. Much like with the Boston bombers. They were warned about the Boston bombers, they investigated, and then they backed off. They said they weren't doing anything. So you have to wonder, given that backstory, given that profile, at least as much as what we know already, where is his association? Where does the evidence actually lead us? It leads us more directly back to the U.S. intelligence services than it ever leads us anywhere near ISIS.
It's funny, you mentioned...
Or alligators associated with Mexican drug cartels or anything like that.
You mentioned, by the way, I wonder if there was an alligator with Boston bombing. But, you mentioned the Boston bombers, right? You think when the FBI came to their little apartment there, and said, hey, what do you got all these crackpots for? They would have said something like, hey, we're good guys. Talk to my uncle. He's in the CIA. You know what I mean? Like, they must have mentioned that, right? Unless the whole investigation by the CIA was an inside job as well. Because otherwise, it makes no sense. They would have had to.
Well, it does smack a little bit of like the David Headley case, the guy who masterminded the Mumbai massacre in 2008. I mean, this guy spent most of the 90s getting caught smuggling drugs and then starts becoming a DEA informant.
Right.
And then just after 9/11, all of his like legal restrictions on his travel or whatever from these convictions, they're all dropped. And the DEA say that he stopped being an informant for them only a few weeks later. So it seems he was then handed over to the CIA, but he had like multiple girlfriends and wives reporting him to the FBI saying, this guy is some sort of wacko or psycho or extremist. They go and talk to him and he says, no, back off, I'm working for the US government. And they did. So, you know what I mean? If it's good enough for David Headley, maybe it's good enough for the Tsarnaevs. It does seem like almost every single time one of these events happens, the person, at least most primarily tagged as responsible, has had some history. None of these are like, clean. They're not people who were completely unknown to the security services. They knew these people. And just like I say with the FBI, they've set up hundreds of people in sting and entrapment operations and with paid off informants and all the rest of it.
Right.
And so you have to wonder, if they're so willing and able to do that, how is it that these people... these apparently so dangerous people, such dangerous people, slip through the net. Yeah. And this guy then goes out and buys a bleeding assault rifle.
And then we have this video that they don't show. First of all, they never talk about Whack and Hunt. They never talk about GS4 in the media. He worked for a big security company. Okay, that's it. Move on. And the father is so obvious, the CIA product. Forget it. they're playing these videos on a CIA-run TV station over there. And then there's this video of about 6 cop cars with their lights and sirens, right? And they were parked in a row right in front of this place, and these cops are blasting away at that building. Then I saw, and 11 cops have acknowledged that they fired their weapons that night. So that if they emptied their guns, it's 150 bullets right there. The other thing now too is, I just saw some video of the outside of this club where they had punched some holes through the cinder block walls, and there's bullet marks around the holes. So they had punched these holes, and the cops are shooting into these holes. I don't know how they punched these holes in there. That's a whole other story. But if there's a real investigation, I think we'll find out that more of these people were killed by police fire, if God, there would be a real investigation, than anybody else shooting at them.
I saw those two with the big holes, and I thought, did he have a bomb or something? Yeah, no, the whole thing stinks.
Yeah.
The father is, and again, it's so early, so it's impossible.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the father didn't push him. You see that a lot with the Tsarnaevs. I don't think Tamerlan or Dzhokhar were the sharpest tool in the shed. Now their uncle Ruslan might have been. But was he pushing them into this? The same thing with this father who, is claiming his son hates all gay people, yet he doesn't know that he's going to gay clubs. Does the father use it? I read somewhere one of his, I think his ex-wife said that the father used to berate him in front of her to say that he was gay and he was dirty and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, was he pushed into something or was he just truly a homophobe who was going to do something like this either way?
Just from watching their reactions, both Ruslan and the father, it seems to me that these guys, they figured out what's going on right away, but I don't think, it seems like it was a surprise. That both of these incidents were a surprise in their life. They were not expecting that day to have a bunch of media at their doorstep saying, hey, what just happened under your nose? And they're both pissed off about it too in some ways. Ruslan especially.
Yeah, Ruslan, definitely.
What's my name? Ruslan. R-U-S.
And he sold them out immediately. Yeah, of course they're terrorists.
Yeah. So, because he can see the writing on the wall. There has to be, and again too, now, what do you guys make? I don't buy this whole thing about this is a plot to take away our guns. I don't see that. What do you guys think the motivation behind all this? Constant fear or keep us busy?
Yeah, I think it's just, it's a great distractionary. I mean, listen, I don't think this is about guns. I don't think it's about Islam. I think it really is at the bottom line, someone went in and killed scores of people in the gay community. That's really the issue here, for me at least. You can look at all the other optics and whatnot, and I tweeted out, thank God he had a gun, otherwise they might have had to address that issue. So I think the guns and the radical Islam, I think they're just distractionary tactics to keep people arguing about something. The last thing they want is for people to reflect on this and look, oh, well, who were these victims? Why were they targeted? Whether it's a false flag or not, they were targeted for a reason. But that will never be addressed because instead it's got to be, well, unless Obama and, Hillary Clinton call this radical Islam, that means they're working with the terrorists. And, unless we talk about how this is really a gun grab, then you work for the feds. So I think they're all just ways of taking a horrific event and just shaping it. And I will say, really, on the gun grab thing, kind of creepy and ironic, but what is it? General Petraeus? I think it was the former NSA director, Hayden, bunch of other really high-ranking CIA and NSA military officials just launched their own gun control group. And they give, Stanley McChrystal is on there, and they give these ridiculous statistics. So between 2001 and 2010, over like 120,000 Americans were murdered with guns. 23 times, and that's 23 times all of U.S. combat deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan wars combined. Now, of course, what they don't tell you is that, within a few years of invading Iraq, you had over 1 million people dead. So, again, the warmongers out there who love killing people are telling you've got to, you got to shape up or something like that. So I just found that rich.
Yeah, that they're telling the citizens of America, you're the ones with the violence problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there is a violence problem domestically in the United States, but it's nowhere near as big as the one that's exported around the world in the form of wars and drone strikes and the rest of it, which all of these people completely oversaw and supported and helped enact. So, yeah, there is certainly a massive hypocrisy there. I don't buy the gun grab thing. I'm still waiting for the gun grab to happen. We keep being told, they're coming for the guns. They're coming for the guns. Any day now, all these guns are just going to be taken away. And I'm thinking, Obama's out in a few months' time. How many guns has he grabbed? Given that for the last 7 or 8 years, we've been told this is his, one of his number one agendas, or certainly high priority agenda. So in terms of what's happened in Orlando, I guess you could use the model of Gladio to understand this, in as much as Gladio is based around the strategy of tension, right? It's all about creating these two polar opposite points of view that you push the public towards one or the other pole, so that there is tremendous public tension and squabbling and division and people hating each other. And, in 1970s Italy, this was about the fascists versus the communists. They wanted to create those two as the two poles and, create the tension that way between those two groups. These days, it's between, I would guess, the kind of hardcore right who are obsessed with guns and radical Islam, and the progressive left who are interested in rights for gay people, say, because that has become, what I mean? In America, rights for various minorities, including sexual minorities, or however you would, it's a poor term, but you know what I'm driving at. Yeah. That's become quite a big political issue recently. And so therefore, that's the kind of ground in which you can create tension and division and hostility towards different people. And so as a result, this sort of event is likely and is already producing kind of knee-jerk reactions where you've just got hatred towards, from sort of one angle, you've got hatred towards Muslims and hatred towards anyone who doesn't believe everyone should be a gun-toting self-protectionist. And on the flip side, you've got people hating towards anyone who's sort of saying anything bad about gay people as though that's comparable to going out and murdering them. So you see what I mean? The public dialogue that's being whipped up around this is very divisive and very polarizing. And I think, maybe that's what's really going on here. Maybe that's the politics of fear that's playing out with this one.
Extremely puzzling, to say the least, this whole thing. And we're out of time, guys.
I know.
Out of time, out of breath, out of steam, out of luck. We're with Pierce Redmond from PorkinsPolicyReview.com and Tom Secker from SpyCulture.com. Guys, you want to tell people how to get a hold of you? Tom first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a contact page on my website, SpyCulture.com, and you can check out all of my work there. So either find me on there or find me on Facebook, as you please.
Pierce?
Yeah, you can. I'm on Twitter at Porkins Policy, and on my website, you can email me or contact me however way you like. And just want to say briefly, Tom and I both have Patreon campaigns up and running. So if you like any of the work we do, if you like the CIA in Hollywood or anything like that, you can become subscribers to both of our sites for very, very low prices. So I encourage people to look into that.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. And if you are listening to this on Friday night, reboot. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs, a lot of content there at OppermanReport.com. And it's the memberships that support the Opperman Report and allow us to play these shows for free on Friday nights and Saturday nights on all the stations you hear us on. You can also make a donation at OppermanReport.com. If you want to support the show and become a member, I can give you a discount. I'll give you 13 months for $65 if you email me directly at OppermanReport@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at OppermanReport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates. EmailRevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey,